You should make some stickers and like have stickers that you carry with you. And when you see somebody that's like walking out with Brickstone beer, you just slap a sticker on their back and it says like, "You've been Tommied" or something like that. So that way they'll be like,
that's when the kids
like
are going to think it's weird.
This week we speak to brewmaster and owner Tommy of Brickstone Brewing. This is episode 46 of The Malting Hour.
What's the haps on the house? Got yeast and speeds. This the Malting Hour where we talk about our drink and tell you what we think every other week. And if we get drunk, well, we might slur our speech. Got the gift of gab, the friends you wish you had. Join us for a drink, join us for a laugh. Time is never wasted, where you getting wasted. The Malting Hour here, people take your places. People take your places. People take your home.
We've made it. We've made it halfway through February. It is the day after Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody if you celebrate that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure I did, as we're recording this before Valentine's Day. I don't know what everybody else did, but I'm sure I made a great dinner and had some great beer that my wife wouldn't try. I'm Tony Golick, one of the hosts here of The Malting Hour, and joined always with
Brandon Winninger.
And when recordings aren't going to crap and we have to re-record, we're also joined with
Clark Fettridge.
Nice. We got a special show this week. We're very excited. Brandon, you spearheaded this whole interview and setup here. I'm going to step away from the mic and let you take the reins for the beginning, which is crazy for me to do.
Awesome. Yeah, so I am happy to, it's like, great, Tony's going to stop talking.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about this. We're happy to introduce that we have Tommy from Brickstone Brewery on here, who is the, I believe, owner and head brewer of Brickstone. So those of you that are not familiar with Brickstone Brewery, it is located in Bourbonnais, Illinois, and they kind of have a rich history, and that's kind of what we're looking to dive in here. So, Tommy, welcome to the show.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Kind of going back on the history, I kind of connected with Tommy originally when I was working at Fishman's. I believe Brickstone had just started going into production, and I was kind of the craft beer guy at the time. People were always kind of recommending things for me to send to Gus over at Fishman's. And as soon as Brickstone started releasing stuff, I was getting a flood of messages and people saying, "Hey, you got to get them over at Fishman's." And I remember I reached out. I think I connected with Tommy and we were kind of messaging back and forth, made some arrangements and got some stuff up there. And I think it was a couple of years of us kind of chatting back and forth, kind of getting stuff. And then did it turn out, didn't you know Gus?
Yeah, he went to same school as my cousins. So, it was kind of, we all knew each other. It's kind of a small world, just, knowing that. And
the old Chicago connection, as we like to call that.
Yeah.
But that was, what was it, like Palos Heights or Palos Park, something?
Yeah, Palos Hills.
Yeah, Palos Hills, yeah.
I
remember it was like yeah, I remember I was having this conversation with Gus, and he was like, and I was talking about Tommy at Brickstone, and he's like, "What's his last name?" And, I went through that, and he was like, "I think I know that guy." And I was like, "Really?" And he looked up Facebook. He's like, "I know this guy." I was like, "I went to school with his family." I was like,
"Yeah,
okay." At this whole time, I've been having these conversations, and he's like, "Yeah, crazy, crazy small world." But even well before Fishman's, I had a friend that lived out in Kankakee that always went to Brickstone, and he always sung your praises. My friend Nate Kuhlemeyer, I don't know if he listens to this show, but
shout out to Nate.
Yeah, so he kind of introduced me, and I think one time, well before I was working at Fishman's, I kind of slipped through the brew pub, had a couple of beers, and kind of fell in love with the stuff that you guys were doing. And I think that was my first time actually having the APA, which I am enjoying right now. It's a delicious beer, and it's probably my go-to with Brickstone. I bought a couple of 6-packs lately of the Hop Skip as well. Because I've been enjoying that one, just kind of straying away from the APA and staying within the Brickstone family. So very, very, very delicious beer. And I think everyone else is kind of sipping on that right now as well. So
Yeah,
kind of how we wanted to. Yeah, yes.
Sorry for the silence. I didn't know you're going to transition into something else. Sorry.
No, but I kind of wanted to kind of jump into the history. So I know you guys started off as a brew pub. So how did all of that happen? What was the formulation? Were you kind of a home brewer before that kind of moved into this, or what kind of brought all of this together for you?
Oh God, I'm gonna have to remember 15 years ago now. Yeah, we're in our 15th year now at Brickstone. We opened in 2006. Uh, I was doing some home brewing. At the time I was at DePaul University, uh, going to school, computer science programming, and I got to just try different beers at some Chicago beer bars, and started home brewing. And we sat down with our family and said, hey, we owned a restaurant at the time. We said, hey, what if we uh, turn our current restaurant into something that we want to go to, where we want to go eat, where we want to go drink? And we decided, hey, we all love beer, doing small homebrew batches, and we decided to take our family-owned restaurant at the time and transition it to Brickstone Brewery. Involved with my sister Tina, my cousin Dino, and my cousin George, and we're all still there today. We all play different roles in helping Brickstone continue to grow and run. But even when we opened Brickstone in 2006, I brewed in 20-gallon stock pots. That was our first homebrew system, and it was. I remember I couldn't brew until the chef was done making soup in those pots. I'd go in early. He's like, "Hey, you got beer boiling in my soup pot. I can't make soup." So he was a little upset with me. So I'd have to go in after he was done. 2:00, start my brew day, which was fine back then. I'd usually sleep until noon then.
The good old days.
Oh yeah. So at the time we said, 20 gallons is not enough. So at one point I'd have like 4 20-gallon stock pots going. I'd have a boil over in pot number 2, then another boil over in pot number 3. So it's just like running all over the kitchen and brewing beer. They were just a big homebrew setup. Bought a bunch of little March pumps. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those.
Yeah.
Put together some, tubing and through a heat exchanger, and I had a pretty maybe spent $1,000 on the homebrew setup, and it wasn't until a while we decided, hey, let's make our homebrew setup a little bigger. So I bought a 100-gallon stainless steel pot at the time.
That's a little bigger.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Within about, I'd say within about a year, we said, hey, we need to really get a real brew house, and that's when we purchased a 10-barrel Newlands brew house, and from day one, our beers evolved. When I first started, I didn't think our beer was good, and
like every good home brewer thinks.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you just kept adding equipment, and we decided, hey, we're gonna, if we want to be a real brewery, back then there was probably 40 breweries, maybe less than. If we want to be a real brewery, we got to get real brew equipment. This homebrew equipment's just not enough to service a full restaurant. So there would be times where we're out of beer for 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I think at the time we only had like 2 or 3 beers on tap. So kind of crazy, and we just started expanding from there. We started with some 10-barrel fermenters, started purchasing 20-barrel fermenters, and just when we ran out of space, 2014, we started thinking about our production facility, and which we built, not quite across the street, but down the street from the brew pub. So
down the street, around the corner, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I always say across the street, and at the time, believe it or not, we were brewing APA in 2009, and we just kept tweaking the recipe. And I tweaked it until 2012. And the last tweak I did on that recipe was our entry to GABF. I'm going to kind of give you a history of, how APA became our flagship and why it became our flagship. It's kind of crazy. I had a hop contract, and APA used to be brewed with all Amarillo hops.
One of my
And,
favorite hops of all time, by the way. Just throwing that in there. It's so good.
I still love using them. And at the time, I had a hop contract at 44 pounds of Amarillo, because we were just putting a little bit of hops in a 20-gallon batch. And I went to order more hops from Hop Union, and he goes, "Hey, we can't give you any more Amarillo hops. You're out in your contract, and they're not available." I said, well, "What do you mean?" I didn't know that stuff. He goes, "Yeah, well," he's like, "Let me give you a different hop to try." And I told him, "Well, I'm brewing this beer for the Great American Beer Festival. We're going to enter it for the first time, and I wanted it to be the recipe I tweaked all those years.
Yeah.
Nothing I could do." So I said, "Okay, what do you want? What do you recommend? What do you recommend a substitute?" He goes, "I got this hop. It's called Citra."
That would be my second favorite hop.
Yeah, I said, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "I could get you a hop contract for 88 pounds." I said, "Okay, I'll buy 88 pounds of Citra." And I went in the cooler, got the last of the Amarillo, and I said, "Okay, whatever this batch is," I had maybe 11 pounds left. "I'm going to brew a 10-barrel batch of APA, and I'm going to sprinkle in Amarillo and different hop additions until I run out." So I took some of the Amarillo additions, turned them into Citra, took the Whirlpool edition, split it Citra and Amarillo together, and the APA you guys are drinking now hasn't been tweaked since then, which is kind of crazy. And we obviously, first entry there, we won Great American Beer Festival. World Beer Cup bronze first, and then we entered it again same year, Great American Beer Festival. That's when we won the gold. And
is the gold for Pale Ale?
Yes.
That's so crazy that you worked, and that's kind of, I think, speaks volumes of just the world of as a home brewer, brewers themselves, that you worked so hard and so long on that beer that you loved and kept tweaking it, and you still got a damn curveball at the end. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to use a different hop, and you pulled it off still.
Yeah,
it's like lightning in a bottle right there.
Yeah, it was just knowing now what we do about hop shortages and stuff. We didn't know back then, and if we knew about hop shortages, maybe APA was never brewed the way it is now, because I would have had Amarillo hops. So kind of worked out, and got lucky, and that's how APA came about.
So how did that winning that gold medal? How did that change Brickstone? I mean, obviously, it has to put you on the map for more people. Like, did you see an uptick in business? And
the biggest thing is, after we won the bronze medal of World Beer Cup first, we said, okay, let's how are we going to win gold? And what we did is we changed our water filters out. We bought a pretty good advanced water filter system for the brew pub at the time, and we changed it. We ended up winning gold, and what helped us at the time, put us on the map, is it was a first ever Midwest sweep of the Pale Ale. It was we won gold, Peace with the Weight won, and Zombie Dust won. So it was those three breweries all in the Midwest swept the Pale Ale
awesome.
category. And us, Zombie Dust was actually one of my favorite beers, and still is. It's a great beer. And for us to score the gold medal against it, I think that helped put us on the map a little bit more. Maybe if Zombie Dust wasn't placing that year, maybe it wouldn't have been such a big thing, in the Midwest for us all.
Sure, yeah. Especially with seeing it as a head-to-head comparison. We just, before we started recording, I was just talking about that I had purchased Zombie Dust because Clark, we did our homebrew episode recently where Clark has a somewhat of a clone that he does that he calls Fudgy Dust, named after his nickname for his son, not Fudgy Dust, but Fudgy. And he calls his son Fudgy Dust. He drinks a lot of Zombie Dust, but how much that I when I started drinking craft beer, just like you were saying, around that time, Zombie Dust was just all the rave here in the Midwest, and it was hard to get everywhere else. And I bought a 6-pack of it recently, and I was saying I'm kind of getting burnt out on, which I never thought would happen, a lot of the hazy IPAs. And having the 6-pack of Zombie Dust has been really nice because it's nice to just go back to beers like that, and having the APA right now for this show is definitely backing up that claim. It's really good.
Yeah, sometimes you forget about some of the styles you used to drink, and there's times where I'm like, man, I haven't had a glass of AP at the brew pub in a few weeks, because I'm trying all the new stuff, and there's times where I just go back and said, wow, I miss having these styles.
Yeah, and Pale Ale is one of our favorite. Sorry, Brad. I was saying Pale Ale is one of our. I just the throwback Thursday post that we did was the decades of Pale Ales that we did. And did we end up drinking this on that, or I think we talked about it at least if we didn't drink.
Yeah, I think we definitely talked about it. I have
Pale
to go
Ales
back and listen to that episode.
Yeah, I don't remember. That was 2 years ago. But yeah, Pale Ale is one of my favorite styles. I've got like 9 different recipes or 9 different versions of one recipe that I keep trying to fix. And that was one of my resolutions this year, was to not fix, but like perfect, was to make a pale ale recipe that I'm just so happy with. That, okay, this is it. This is the pale ale that I want to drink, because a pale ale just kind of hits all those marks that I want in a beer. Something that's slightly bitter, slightly fruity, a little sweet, but also dry, not too heavy, not too high in alcohol, and refreshing.
Yeah, funny you say that, because just looking back, I go back all the time. I said, oh, wow, look at this APA recipe from 2009 and 2010. And I've taken good notes and just seen all the different stuff I've done to it. I'm like, oh, man, what was I doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I thinking there?
The whole, talk about the hops and the different types of hops and things like that. And especially the Zombie Dust placing in third in the Great American Beer Festival for Pale Ale. We talked about this on the homebrew episode too. It's a stark reminder that Zombie Dust is not an IPA, which it gets classified by a lot of people as,
right.
Even though it's got such a hop forward flavor. That's not its classification. And for years, I always thought it was an IPA before I started actually paying attention to what I was drinking. And I was like, oh, this is a pale ale. So there is a strict, a distinct difference. Now, when you think about an APA versus like a pale ale, or, a pale ale versus an IPA, I can definitely tell the difference. There's less malt to me and more hop, which, if in Zombie Dust, there is that good mix of that nice maltiness as well as that, big hop flavor. But I think you kind of lose the maltiness, kind of fades off when you start going into IPA territory. So
yeah, when we had AP as our flagship beer, and we'd go as I try to sell beer, and back in the day where I'd be brewing and trying to sell beer before we had a sales team, I'd walk in the account like, oh, we're looking for an IPA, and I'd say, well, we have pale ale. Oh, we don't like pale ales. We don't like IPAs, and is a point where I couldn't sit here and argue with people saying, it's free. This IPA and pale ale category is kind of,
it's a blurry thin line. Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of intersect each other, and ours was a little bit higher ABV for the beer style. Sometimes people say, oh, this is not a pale ale. It's too strong in alcohol, or this, and it, just over the years, we've always brewed APA, pale ales, IPAs, and we've stuck to that to this day. Now we ventured into some fruited beers now in our variety pack, the Jam series we have there. But we've built our brewery on pale ales and IPAs and hoppy beers, and we've stuck to that.
And successfully so, because I know many people who very much consider Brickstone APA kind of a staple of pale ales in their homes. The episode we just reposted recently, my cousin Kevin, when I had told him we were doing this episode, he was super excited because he had literally just purchased a 6-pack of APA. He was like, this is just the pale ale that I have normally. That and Fist City, he says he keeps on hand at all times.
Yeah, that's a great beer too. I drink Fist City too. Yeah, and one more thing I was thinking now. It's funny because I'm trying to think back 15 years. People ask, how come Brickstone APA is just called APA? How come it doesn't have a fancy name like Hop Skip or Permanent Vacation? And I was filling out the form for GABF, and I was sitting in the back office, and I was kind of in a hurry. I'm like, I'm going to enter a beer, but I don't even know what to call it. So I was just said, Brickstone APA. I'm entering Brickstone APA, Brickstone Stout, Brickstone Wheat. So now we win the medal, and our whole team's like, okay, now we have to come out with a good, catchy name if we want to package this beer, And we're reading the letters from the Great American Beer Festival Brewers Association. They said, well, if you change the name of the beer, you can't have the medal associated with it anymore.
Oh, jeez.
There, it stuck, Brickstone APA. And, from there, we're like, okay, now we got to name every beer we enter in the GABF. Brickstone Stout. So people always ask, like, how come, why is it called APA? Oh, I was actually in a hurry. Think of a name real quick. That's the hardest thing to do, is thinking of beer names now.
That's funny especially for me when it comes to homebrew. When I think of a style or what I want to brew, I'm automatically thinking of a name. And my brother-in-law, Myke, when he and I were brewing together, I was like, all right, we need a name. He's like, just call it wheat beer or stout.
Yeah.
Pretty much just what it was. I'm like, that's no fun for me. That's funny that's how that's stuck.
Yeah, Justin, our brewer at the brew pub today, goes, hey, Tommy, I got this Imperial Stout release, and do we have a name? I'm like, oh, man, that's not up my alley. I don't know.
I'm the guy who named our flagship beer APA. Yeah. I did my job.
Well, so that brings a good point, too. So it kind of segues from what I was going to ask. So you stick traditionally with the pale ales and the IPAs and the hoppier stuff, but is it you guys have an Imperial Stout that you're going to be releasing?
Obviously Dark Secret's the only one we brew and we barrel age. We did brew a batch at the brew pub that we have in barrels now. We're going to start to create another Imperial Stout other than Dark Secret. So this is our test batches now. We use our brew pub as like our experimental series, brew pub series. So we did brew a small batch. We put some in barrels, and next year we'll see how it's gonna taste. But I think Justin kept a few kegs non-barrel aged to release because we didn't have a stout on tap at the brew pub.
Yeah, nice. So how did with you're kind of venturing down of your world of APAs and IPAs, how did Dark Secret come about?
It's actually, so Dark Secret, believe it or not, is the first and only Imperial Stout I ever made. That, again, has never had a tweak to it. So that's the first recipe I ever did. I never even homebrewed one. Wow. I just kind of did a lot of research on grain and tasted stuff and put it together. And that's today still, that's the same beer we've had since 2000. I think I started brewing in 2011.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Obviously, it's Dark Secret at first wasn't barrel aged. We did different coffee variants, but now we decided, if we release Dark Secret, it always needs to be barrel aged, so people understand like Dark Secret is always a barrel aged beer. So it doesn't have to say barrel aged Dark Secret. So we know everything going forward is barrel aged Dark Secret. I love stouts. Oatmeal stouts, milk stouts, I love every kind of stout there is. And I said, I want to brew a very strong stout, and I want to try this barrel aging stuff that everyone does. And we actually took booths out of the restaurant to be able to fit barrels so we could barrel age in the restaurant. At the
priorities.
Time,
that's good.
Yeah.
At the time, my mom and my aunt and uncle, who, helped us start the restaurant and are partners with us in the restaurant, said, what do you mean you're going to take booths out to put a bunch of beer in? People need to sit and eat. How are we going to make money? And we said, okay, we're not going to take any booths out. But then after they saw how nice the barrels looked and, on the racks, they said, okay, let's take that booth out and put barrels there. Now we have barrels in the restaurant. They thought they were good, nice decor for them. But and the first batch of Dark Secret was at the brew pub, obviously. Barrel aged over there. It's very hard to barrel age there. We would have to fill barrels in the dining room, so we'd have to go in very early there's not a lot of space there. So the guys the other day barely just New Imperial Stout, and I said, I'm gonna take the day off of this one because it's really it's a very tight space.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys are still. It's almost as if the fact that you can find your beers pretty much just about anywhere. Local liquor stores, grocery stores. It's kind of funny to hear that you guys are still almost treating it as like a homebrew. Like, okay, guys, this is the space that we have. We're not like building out anything to do it at the moment. We're gonna do this here. I can't be here because there's not enough room. That I think that's great. I think it adds a little bit of a charm to it.
Facility.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
The guys looked at me like, no wonder why you didn't always want to brew dark secret. We'd have to bring the barrels over there. We'd have to move tables to bring the pallet jack in, and so it's a process. But in the end, it's worth it because once I get that beer in the barrels, I'm happy and tasting it, and trying something different. Smaller batches at the brew pub is pretty fun to do. I'm at the production facility all the time brewing, so people ask, like, do you get bored of brewing the same beers all the time? Well, no, not really. I said that, it is still fun brewing, but it's a lot more fun if you're brewing something different, something new, because, 90% of the time I'm brewing APA, hop skip, permanent vacation, or haze juice. And now every once in a while I tell Justin, hey, Justin, I'm coming to the brew pub to brew a different beer. And haze juice was actually brewed at the brew pub first for a while. We did a lot of tweaks on the hazy beers, and then it took us about a year, and we brought it into life at the production facility. So, I still venture off over there, and it's fun to brew on a smaller system and brew smaller batches. So it, keeps things interesting.
So that being said, like using the brew pub kind of as like your test system, per se, that's kind of where you can find out if things are going to go to full production, whether it was there or even at the full production site. Is there anything that you brewed that just didn't work and you were like, nah, we're not going to do this ever again?
Well, in 2006, I dumped my first and only batch of beer. But after that, I've luckily had every batch of beer, pretty close to where I wanted it to be, But I think right now at the brew pub, something we're working on and we worked on for a while, is fruited beers. But we ferment the fruit. We don't have a flash pasteurizer. We don't put on a can, store cold. So we want our beers to be shelf stable. So we took a lot of our time last year of trying to brew fruited beers at the brew pub and then bring them to life in a can. So I would say the hardest thing now is knowing how much of each fruit to use during the batch, because we're brewing 100 barrels at the production facility. We can't tweak the beer after we brew it by just adding more fruit in, because we have to make this shelf stable.
Yeah.
Nobody wants any can bombs or any bottle bombs. With the fruit, kind of a messy situation.
And a lot of people, some brewers are putting store cold.
That whole thing's such a mess. If it can't be on the shelf, don't sell it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing now, is just trying to learn how to ferment fruit the right way, where you're still going to get all the fruit flavors and use the right ratios. And I think that's the biggest thing now. When it comes to like hoppy beers, we know it works and what doesn't work at the production facility. We brewed so many different beers over there. So I think that's the biggest challenge now is, trying to bring those beers to life.
By the way, kudos for only having to dump one batch.
Yeah, seriously.
It was actually, so it was kind of funny. It was my first batch at the brew pub. And back then before I did homebrew systems, we used like a complete extract with some. It was kind of, you just heated up the extract, mixed it in with water, and used table sugar.
Oh yeah.
And you were able to brew beer back then. It was hopped extract. So at the time we didn't heat up the extract enough so it didn't dilute in the water.
Oh god. Nice taste there.
Yeah. So kind of back on the dark secret. Well, is there any plans to do any type of other barrel aging for your beers? I know like Dark Secret's the primary thing, and you talked about some other stuff that you're doing as stout wise, but a barrel aged fruited beer or anything like that. Does that interest you, or is that just something that you kind of?
No, it does. Yeah, we're trying to bring different barrel aged beers to life. We brewed for our 10-year anniversary. We brewed a barrel aged barley wine. That's the first and only barley wine I brewed.
I love barley wines.
Yeah,
I do too. I love sipping on them. Barrel aged barley wines are great. I love sipping on them, and it's just a style that not everyone's really, I wouldn't say intrigued about, but know a lot about.
Yeah.
So for us, Dark Secret's still a beer that we're trying to, still grow the brand of Dark Secret. We don't release a lot of it outside the brew pub. I think this year, most of it got sold online. During the pandemic, we decided instead of entering our Black Friday day, obviously we couldn't at the time, so let's release online. We were very successful in releasing online. We didn't think we'd have that quick of sales of the beer. This year was actually the most Dark Secret we've ever brewed. So, we're happy that we're still growing that brand. Next year, we'll probably put a little bit more in the barrels. And what we did this year is we took Dark Secret and we used a bunch of different barrels. We used Weller barrels. We have Double Oak Woodford Reserve barrels. We have some Blanton barrels that we're going to release for our 15-year anniversary.
Oh, nice.
Clark and Brandon, where the hell were you guys on this? You guys are have your nose to the internet of grabbing beers like this. I suck at this, and we don't have it. That whole mix just sounds delicious, and here I am with an awesome T-shirt, and I can't even say I tried the beer.
Well, I didn't say I didn't get it. I just didn't share it.
You've never had Dark Secret? Come on, Tony. Come on.
Okay. Anyways, Tom, sorry. Please continue.
Hey, you guys didn't get the 3 cases I sent today?
Son of a bitch, Brandon, where is it?
Brandon's hiding them.
Well, I have a couple of them right here, so everything's tasting real good.
I'm going to everybody's house after the show.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, did you get the stout that I had sent back?
Not yet, because he came back after I left for the day.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm figuring out my brew day tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It is. I think we figured out it's probably at around like 11%. Not a barrel aged stout, but it is a stout that we brewed with we literally threw full cinnamon rolls, icing and everything into the mash.
Shit, that's my breakfast tomorrow then.
Yeah, right.
Boom. Yes, that's what we want to hear.
And then some Madagascar vanilla bean. We made a tincture of that in vodka, and then some Saigon cinnamon.
We did a Saigon cinnamon stick tincture in Buffalo Trace.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we gave it to some people. We've had some people try it that don't like beer, and they were like, "This tastes like a cinnamon roll." I was like, "Perfect, that's what we were going for." So yeah, I'm excited to get your review on that.
I'm skipping donuts tomorrow. I'm having that beer for breakfast.
Yeah, we figured with all the beer that you gave us, one beer would be good enough.
We're home brewers. It's not like we have that much beer.
Next time, it's 2 bottles.
You gave me a 4-ounce bottle too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Half full. There was a lot of head.
No, I think it's probably about 12 ounces. So, if you drink all of that, that'll start your day really well. So,
it's Friday.
Yeah. And you know what? So when, things get a little bit better and, things start opening up more, we'll be making a trip down by you, and we'll definitely bring some stuff to share with you. So.
Oh yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. We're trying to brew a lot more this year. So this stout that we gave you, Brandon and I worked on for a little bit. We threw this all together. It was Brandon's idea from the beginning to use these cinnamon rolls, and we sat down and did it. We tried not to drink a whole lot during the brew day. As you know, a home brewer, you might do that, and then you miss some steps. We even recorded a podcast doing it, and it was probably the most that is probably the definition of lightning in a bottle. I hope we can replicate it again, because we're both really proud of this beer, and we look forward to what you think about it.
Oh yeah, I'll let you know for sure.
Awesome.
Unless you hate it, then we won't say anything about this ever again.
We will delete this whole part.
If I say drop the bottle, that
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We get it. We get it.
Try it, guys,
Good. That's good code word. We'll edit this part out of the episode.
Good thing it's in a plastic bottle.
Zing.
So actually, I'm finishing up my APA. So
yeah, I'm all done with mine. Yeah.
What would you recommend us trying next?
I just finished my haze juice, but
yeah, by the way, the last time I checked in haze juice, I checked it in August of last year, and I as we were talking, I wanted to see what I thought of it. I checked it on Untapped, and I said a little bitter for the style, but I dig it.
Yeah, we, when we brewed some of these hazy beers, some of them were just so. I brewed some that are very sweet and some that have some hop bite. I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of a hop bite and not be too sweet, where it's, is there even really hops in here? Because it's, so, I feel it has some bitterness, not, obviously not as much as APA has or any of other beers, but
no, not by any means.
I do get that from people. They say, thanks for putting some bitterness into this hazy beer. And there's some of the hazed up series that we used to brew that were just a lot sweeter, and less hop bitterness, so to speak.
I definitely like it as far as a, hazy beer where you still get that, I like all the hazy New England IPAs, and as I said before, I'm kind of getting burnt out on it at this point, which I didn't think was possible. But I feel like with that beer in particular, it's nice because you get all of that like fruity juiciness without losing the bitterness of an IPA.
Yeah, we've done a lot of tweaks with hazy beers, and I'll tell you, a hopping technique we use in this is, all our hops are in the whirlpool. We let them sit at about 160 degrees. We bring our wort over from the brew kettle, get it down about 170, between 160 170. Then we add our hop addition, let that sit for 20 minutes before we put any of the wort on top of it. We found that adding the wort directly onto those whirlpool hops create a little bit more bitterness than we wanted to. So this is a hopping technique we use in this beer, which we don't use in any others. So we let it sit a little bit longer in the whirlpool than our other beers. So I
may have to talk to you off mic to figure out how I can do that at my homebrew scale. So thank you for that information. But yeah, I know we were focusing on that.
Try one of the fruited beers. You have the milkshake there. I think you have blueberry pomegranate, right?
No, we got the jammed blackberry.
And the milkshake. Yeah.
Milkshake IPA, which has blueberry, vanilla, and
pomegranate.
Let's go milkshake IPA.
Yeah, the reason why I was going to agree with that because and Clark, I think you're the same way. We don't really like milkshake IPAs that much, and it's hard for us to find some that we like. There's a handful, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm pretty sure because I know Brandon, when you and I went to Great American Beer Fest a couple years ago, we went and tried one, and I won't mention the brewery because I like that brewery a lot, but I took a sip and I said, "This is gross."
Well, I think you're in for a treat, Tony.
There's so many different takes at them. There's hazy IPAs. To me, you could line up 6 or 8 of them. They're all pretty similar tasting, but when you get into milkshakes, there's so many different takes on them. Whether people are adding so much vanilla, or they're just doing vanilla, no fruits. Whether they're just doing, we kind of try to showcase a little more of the fruit character with some of the vanilla sweetness. And not be over, not kind of fill your stomach. So, it's kind of the take we took on it is not to overuse one ingredient. Sometimes you get some of these milkshake IPAs and you could taste that one ingredient, and that's what stands out. I don't know. You guys tell me what you're tasting when you.
Yeah, no, this is Clark here. I think Tony and I have the same issue when we're drinking.
Welcome to the show, Clark.
Yeah, I took a quick nap. I had my first beer. I needed a quick nap to get back at it. I got all my energy.
You didn't listen to anything Tommy said this whole time?
I was listening to Tommy. I muted both of you, so I got everything I really needed.
Perfect.
But no, I think, Tony, you and I at least, Brandon, I'm not sure about you, but I think we don't like the overabundance of vanilla in the milkshakes.
Correct, because I love vanilla.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always way overpowering. And the first sip I took of this, I'm going, yes, this is what I want to drink when I'm having a milkshake IPA. And as Tommy said, it's definitely more fruit forward. And sure, there's the vanilla there, but you're not going, oh, there's a vanilla milkshake in my mouth. You're getting a little bit of everything, and it's very smooth, very pillowy, and delicious.
It's the blueberry that is, to me, is prominent.
Definitely.
This. Like,
Yeah.
I know I could share this beer with my wife without her thinking this was something that was so much too bitter or too sweet, that the fruit does really stand out a bunch. And Tommy, we're not blowing smoke up your ass. If we didn't like this, we would tell you straight to your virtual face that, you know what, I'm not feeling this. This is delicious.
I appreciate it. That's how I'm going to be when I'm talking about your stout tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't drop the can, just so you know. But so the shocking thing about this too is, even the aroma on it, like if I poured this into a glass, I would think, I'm like, oh, this is like some kind of fruited sour. And the initial flavor that I get is the blueberry and a little bit of that sourness from the from the fruit, not from the hops. And I'm like, tell me this is an IPA, and I would tell you you're lying, because this is amazing the way this all kind of came together, because the milkshake IPAs we had of the past were nowhere near
too much
phenomenal as this.
Yeah.
It was they went way off the deep end, especially on the vanilla portion. And then this is so well balanced. Kudos, man. Good job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we try to get the fruit to stand out in these. And if you see our cans, any milkshake we do, they're always double fruited. So the prominent fruit's always going to be what's first on the can. I think it says blueberry pomegranate on there, right?
Blueberry, vanilla, pomegranate.
Yeah, that's how I missed what you were talking about. Like, you got the fruited beers, right? Blueberry, pomegranate. I'm like, no, we got the blackberry jammed. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and those milkshakes, whatever's the first fruit is, that's what's usually we use for the dominant fruit. And look, we've used double the amount of vanilla in some of our other ones, and we don't want every time we release a milkshake just to be the same amount of vanilla. That's the fun part of releasing new beers. So we said, all right, let's make this one this much vanilla, this much fruit, and it comes together. I think sometimes milkshake IPA is misleading to a consumer that doesn't know what the style is. But that's the industry now.
Well, I want the industry to follow your style. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're happy with that series, because you get people that maybe don't want a very hoppy beer, and they want something refreshing and fruity. And look, we're not going to brew a seltzer and put it in a can. It's just, have we thought about it? Probably, like every other brewery, but we don't think we could compete with the national brands of brewing a seltzer and being $14.99 or $12.99 a 12-pack.
At this point, I don't think it's worth it.
No.
And I like the hard seltzer, but
to somebody that might drink a seltzer or fruited beers to try this. It's funny. 3 years ago, the guys at Binny's said, "Tom, you guys should brew a seltzer." This is before White Claw blew up like it was. I'm like, "Oh man, really? Seltzer? People are gonna drink those?" And now to this day, like, "See, we told you." But obviously now, you go to a grocery store or liquor store, and there's so many seltzers. So we're never gonna try to compete with that. So we took a take on creating these milkshake fruited beers, and then the jam series, to kind of get someone that might have been drinking a seltzer to venture over to drink that craft beer now. and someone that doesn't want an IPA. So our Jam series is in all our variety packs. When we first released the variety pack, is all APAs and IPAs, and we decided, hey, let's give the consumer, let's give our fans, something completely different in that variety pack, and that's where the Jam series came about. And just looking into this year, Jam series will go into double fruited. Like the first one we're going to release here coming up in March is probably mango pineapple. So we're going to take on 2021 of being double fruited. As 2020 we just did like a blackberry jammed, and so we're looking at that.
So would you say that your tagline for 2021 would be the year of the double fruit?
Yep, that's it. Making a t-shirt.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I had a quick question about the milkshake IPA because I've never had it before and I've seen it. You had said that this one is blueberry, pomegranate, vanilla. Are there other versions of this as well?
Yeah, so we slowed down on brewing them just because of the can shortages. Sure. That used to go on a white can, and we're out of white cans right now. In order to keep our flagships rolling, we took our can allocation and made it more into APA, hop, skip, and permit vacation. So, we went on a black can because we didn't have any more allocations of white cans. So we had raspberry blackberry before, pineapple mango, peach tangerine.
Oh.
I would say we've been brewing them for about, probably going on our second year, so about a year and a half.
Ooh. Yeah, I've been so hesitant just because of my experience with milkshake IPAs. Like when I saw that we got this, and I was like, okay, this is it. Do or die, Tony. You're gonna try it. But I had no idea that there were. I love the way that you guys design your cans, even with the way you've changed it. And this is how I've seen the milkshake IPA. So I only knew it as that. I wasn't sure what was in it because I was so just turned off by the idea of a milkshake IPA still. That I didn't even bother to check. What a loser I am for thinking that.
Well, yeah, and this kind of goes back. I have not. I don't think I've literally had a milkshake IPA. So how many years ago was that we were at Great American Beer Festival? We both had it, and we were like,
three at this point.
Yeah.
It'd be 3 this year, I think.
Yeah, and that was also the year that we went to the Brickstone booth multiple times looking for Tommy, and he was always not there.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for
Brandon
kept coming back for beer.
Yeah, Brandon kept making sure. He's like, we got to go over there. We got to find this guy now, Tommy.
I had the volunteers take over that year, I think.
They're like, he just left. He'll be back in like 10 minutes. They're like, we'll come back. Come back. Like, he just left again. Or he's home for the night. I'm like, all right.
7 samples
I definitely
later.
wasn't home for the night, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Neither were we. That was a long day. Yeah, that was a long day. Clark, you wouldn't know anything about that. You were not there with us. Sorry.
I know nothing about that.
Correct. You were not invited, nor will you ever be. This is the point of the show where you're fired.
Well, I'll go by myself and I'll find Tommy and I'll be able to talk with him.
I won't be at the booth.
Exactly.
Yeah. He'll be wandering around. Well, here's to hoping that that Great American Beer Fest is a social gathering again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy, I noticed that you're very, as far as I can tell on the socials, as they'll say, very active with events. I mean, it seems like you go to events everywhere, whether it's pop-ups or pours at certain beer festivals. Are you?
Yeah,
I assume you're excited about getting back into that someday.
Yeah, I love going to events. I still like doing grocery store, liquor store tastings. It's a chance to meet people and get good information about our brand. And I've always said, no matter how big a brewery gets, or you got to stay involved in everyone that helped you grow. And I love going. I wish I could go more. I have 3 kids now, so it's a little bit harder.
Just bring them with. Just bring them with. I'm sure they'll have a great time. Kids love stuff like that.
Yeah, just stay in the car for a few hours.
Here's a pretzel. Dad will be back.
I'm going to bring them with when they're 16 so they can be the DD, that's for sure.
There you go.
They're going every beer fest.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but we really the whole family, everybody on the in the family on the team, they like going to events and seeing everybody. I'd say you're never going to get too big to not be able to go see your fans and the people that helped your brand grow over the years. So I enjoy them, and shit, I get to drink.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I feel like beer drinkers, at least for me, when I go to any of the beer fests, like we've gone, Brandon, GABF and the Great Lakes Beer Fest, getting to talk to not just reps, like there are some reps, who represent a brewery, and they're great, and not knocking them at all. But when you talk to somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm the brewer, I'm one of the brewers, or I'm a head brewer, or I'm I'm one of the owners.
Or the owner.
Yeah, it's so much more interesting and fun to talk to those people, because it's almost like you're even more connected with the beer. Like, oh shit, I'm drinking the beer that came from your mind, or you had a hand in this beer that I'm drinking, and I love it, and it makes that experience that much more memorable and personal.
Oh yeah, it's fun to meet everybody. So people always ask, when are you going to walk away from the brew house? When are you going to stop brewing and take maybe more operations? And I say I don't think I could walk away from the brew house, because even though the offices are upstairs, there's no way I'm not going downstairs every hour on a brew day just to see what's going on. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
blessed that the team, if days I do need to step away from the brew house, it's they're operating just as I would, and we've built a great team, and it just I don't think I could ever walk away from something you love doing. So that's the hard part, when you give that up of everyday brewing and do other things in the production facility that need operation side.
That's awesome to hear. I feel like that adds, I think that speaks volumes to the actual, what we're drinking today, and what we're going to end up drinking tomorrow as well. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night now with these beers that I have in front of me. That I think that is represented in the product that you guys, that you put out, that you do have. It's not just a business. While it's still a business, it's not just a business to you. It's still something that you still have your hand in, and there's a lot of heart that goes into the beers, and I think that's represented very well in what we have here in front of us. So yeah, that's awesome. I think I'd be the same way. I don't have the guts to try and do a brewery, especially in these days, or even if it was 2 years ago. No thanks, not going to try that one. I'm just going to keep brewing my beers and dissecting everybody else's beers and talk about it here on the internet.
Hey, if you start, we started this as a passion, so that's what we're doing. There's some people are going into this business because breweries are so busy, but you gotta love what you do.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing, and you kind of nailed it right there. I mean, I've seen so many people that have gone into this business, with the their love of home brewing and all this kind of stuff, and then they just, once they get up and running and going, and like they're the ones stepping away, and they're like not involved in the day-to-day of the brewing, and I'm like, where like, were you in it for the money, or like where did the passion go? And I feel like that's part of, and I think Tony and I are kind of on the same page. It's like, we love the process of brewing, and the seeing what we can make with all of the various options that are out there, but then like scaling it up and like having to run a brewery. It's like, I would be too afraid that something would take the fun out of it for me. Like,
yeah, and Clark's not involved with that because he just learned how to use a hydrometer recently. So eventually, we'll get him in there. Clark's been brewing for a long time, but he's just now. Anybody who listens to this show know what we're talking about.
ABV is very exciting for me now these days. Yeah.
What's the ABV on this? I'm not sure.
He doesn't. He doesn't care.
That's what I always say about my beers.
But his beers do taste very good.
So kind of, rounding this out. So what does the future look like for Brickstone? What are you excited about, aside for double fruited beers in 2021? Like, what are you looking forward to this year, next year? Like, is there any big plans for Brickstone?
we're still kind of, we might venture off to some more distribution, possibly in a, couple of states. We're not quite ready for that yet because we don't want to take away from our current home state market. We're still trying to grow that.
Thank you.
Until you really could own your state and, make sure that you're having enough product for your own home state, it's hard to venture off to more, because then you'll really lose control. As for us, maybe we've talked about, and we do have some possible plans to create a beer garden at our production facility. That was always part of a phase when we planned everything. So we are working on some plans to add an outdoor space where people could actually come to the facility and drink on site over there. So that is something we're working on currently. We're trying to bring it to life as quick as we can. And
you have the space there. I mean, I've been to the production spot, and definitely it would be awesome to have that there.
Yeah, we feel we're located in Illinois, where it's close enough for people to travel, and breweries have become destinations now. So that's the next thing we want to do is just build onto that, the brand of the production facility, and bring that to life, to people to be able to come. I love bringing people in there for tours and showing the equipment, and seeing the different size breweries from the brew pub to the production facility. But since we don't actually have a on-premise spot for them to drink, it's we don't get a lot of people that even come in there. So that's probably our goal for this year is to finally hit that plan that we put in place, when we built the facility. And we're excited about the can rebrands we just launched. What goes into brewing beer is creating that beer image on the shelf too. So our brand, can rebrand, we're pretty excited for. We're bringing APA in the 12 packs.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to launch in March.
Ooh, perfect for the summertime. We're all figuring out what beers we're gonna have in the summer, and I finally found my pale ale that's gonna be in my fridge.
Thanks. Yeah, so we've always taken baby steps into things. We walk before we start running. This is our 15th year. I feel we're and it's gone so fast, and I think we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing with our brand. We don't release 50 different beers and cans a year out of the production facility. We just don't have the ability to do that, or the amount of fermenters that do so. So we'll release some new beers here, but like I said, it's just trying to build on to what we have right now.
Well, you guys are doing what you have now. Works for me. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, solid stuff, man.
Just thinking back, I remember talking to Brandon all those years about, getting our beer on shelves in places, and it's crazy how fast it goes. And the first time I saw our beer on a shelf, and then now you go places and you see it just more than one, and it's pretty exciting. But it still excites me when we get in a new liquor store, and I'm like, oh, that looks great on that shelf, so that stuff still excites me today, just.
Yeah, and that's so not owning a brewery is, something that's not an aspiration for us. But one of the things that Tony and I
don't own a brewery.
We don't. But one of the things that we talked about that would just be like the pinnacle of awesome was like if we ever worked with a brewery to collaborate on a beer or do something like just like the seeing it on the shelf would be like, yep, we've completed some goal in life.
That's it. Wrap it up. We don't have to do the podcast. We're done home brewing. Everything's done. I'm just my family will have more time with me.
Yeah. So like, I can totally appreciate, and I think that's probably a dream of a lot of, breweries is once they get their stuff into production, like just seeing it on the shelf. Or I would even more of a thrill would be like you walk into like a Jewel or a Binny's, whatever, a grocery store that sells liquor and you see somebody walking with a 6-pack of your beer, you'd be like, all right.
Thank you. By the way, I have my hand in that. Have a good day. I'm going to go and get my frozen vegetables now.
You know, it's my kids always tell me, Dad, we don't want to go to that grocery store because if they carry Brickstone beer, you're going to go to the liquor aisle and start facing all the cans. And you take forever.
That's the cutest and most hilarious thing I've heard.
I just
about-
imagine some like some store clerk coming up. Sir, please get your hands off the cans. Yes, they're my cans, damn it.
Well, it's funny because you know, we'll go on these road trips and I'll just pull off the highway and stop at a random store and I'm like, I just want to see if they have Brickstone beer there. Like, okay, they have you. Let's leave. And I'll pull off 5 minutes later. You're like, Dad, you know they have Brickstone beer there because you look at the reports.
I just got to make sure. I just need to make sure.
Yeah, I like how you say you're doing this on like, you know, random road trips. There's probably some clerk there, like, finally a customer, and you walk in, you look at it, you're like, oh, good, they got it. You walk out. He's like, damn it, I thought I had a sale.
Thanks for carrying my beer. See you later.
You know, and you kind of nailed something there. You know, it's always like an honor and a good feeling. I've been to grocery stores, and not in our hometown, you know, but in other towns where I'll actually see somebody with a 6-pack in their cart in front of me or behind me, and there's been many times I'm like, here, I'm paying for that 6-pack. I appreciate it, you know. And
oh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
like, what do you do, Dad? The guy thinks you're weird.
I was just going to ask though, like, have you ever gone into a store and just bought your own beer? And like,
oh, I have many times. But you know, I see people with it. And I say, my kid's like, Dad, leave that guy alone. He thinks you're weird.
I think you should make like you should make some stickers and like have stickers that you carry with you. And when you see somebody that's like walking out with Brickstone beer, you just slap a sticker on their back and it says like you've been Tommied or something like that. So that way they'll be like,
that's when the kids are gonna think it's weird.
Yeah, labeling people as they walk out like you're a buyer.
I'm emailing the design.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, thanks again for coming on. I do have one final question, kind of to round, you know, not to round this out, but so with the goodies that you kind of dropped off, I saw you post about this a while ago, but you did a collaboration on some mustard. How did that come about?
So, you guys know Plaquemines mustard. You know, it's the original mustard in the yellow bottle, the barrel bottle.
Sure.
Yeah.
They were the first ones in there, and we're lucky enough to have them in our backyard. Their facilities in Mantino.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Road. And the Plaquemines team, you know, they would come to our brew pub and, you know, have some beers, dinner, and everything. And one day they were just joking around. I was like, we should make a mustard with your beer. And we're like, damn right you should. We're like, man, I wonder if they're serious, you know. And the history of Plaquemines mustard, where it went to, it was first brewed with Killian's red, I believe, and then they switched. They were at MGD. They were brewing with MGD, and he reached out. You know, they said, "Hey, could we buy some beer off you to start doing some batches?" And we said, "Yeah." So we took a tour of the facility. We saw everything, how everything's handled, and it's pretty amazing. And their mustard, you know, they have award-winning mustard. They've won national awards with it, and they said we need a craft beer mustard, and we just don't want it to just say craft beer on it. We need it with a brand, you know, that they like. And so we gave them some APA. They kept doing some test batches, and they would send the test batches all the way to California to their research and development team. That's where their office is out there. It took about, I'd say, a year to probably get all this done. And at that point, we had to help bring our brands together, you know, for the branding portion of it. So, you know, you see the label there. They redid all their labels. They're all designed, and they have tequila mustard. They have, you know, obviously our Brickstone APA mustard. You know, they have a Tabasco mustard. They have a big line now that matches that branding of mustards, and they sell that right now, not only in Illinois and some other states too. So it was a pretty fun project we got lucky that they wanted to do that with us. So it's pretty neat.
Well, Brandon's hogging that bottle, and Clark and I are going to storm his house this weekend to steal it from him. We asked him to split it through. Clark asked him to split it 3 ways. Brandon did not comply, so he has the wrath of the mustard gods upon him.
No, all you guys got to do is just make some sausages, stick your hand out your door. I'll come by, give you a squirt, and we're good.
That sounds weird. That sounds really weird.
Yeah.
Clark, did you not get a dark secret shirt?
What's
He
that?
did not.
Oh, Clark,
Good. I got the hat, which is much more important for me.
All right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we did the trade off. We did the trade off since we got the Brandon and I got the shirts. Clark gets the hat. Clark wears hats more than I do. I only wear hats when we're doing the podcast video, so it's fitting. But dude, thank you so much for the beers and the shirts and the hats and the mustard that we're gonna steal from Brandon and
the time.
Yeah. And the time you took to talk with us tonight. We're really grateful, and thanks for sharing your story and the beers and knowing where you guys started from and where you are now. Just makes me, and I would think anybody who's listening who hasn't tried Brickstone, go out and try it. And now you've got a story behind it. And I think you'd understand with the way we're feeling. I mean, other than the fact that we just had, 2 really good beers on a, Thursday night, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm already done with the milkshake IPA, but you'd appreciate and taste the love that has gone into these beers and definitely seek it out as much as you can.
No, I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm glad we got to catch up and talk and kind of remember the last 15 years. What happened in the last 45 minutes.
Well, hopefully sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No, go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say, so hopefully the next time, because we're famous for saying, and famous just for ourselves and anybody who constantly listens to the show, famous for saying, well, this is just the first time. We plan on revisiting you again because especially when we have a really good conversation with someone who cares so deeply about a beverage that we all love and enjoy. This is the first of hopefully another time, and hopefully the next time we get to talk with you and we get to hang out on the show. We get to come down to Brickstone and actually have some beers there. Maybe some of the experimental batches that you guys are brewing at the brew pub. So I'm personally am very much looking forward to that.
I appreciate it. You guys got to come down and brew at the brew pub.
Done.
Oh, wait a minute.
Done. Done.
We lost Tommy on the mic. Yep.
We lost Tommy. Oh, well.
Right. He said
that was great having
he invited us.
It's
It's official.
out tomorrow, okay?
Yeah. Let us know if you drop the stout, and then you can invite us.
Yeah, and also
the brew house doesn't work anymore. You can't come down.
Yeah, I mean, just to say something for this conversation, I promised Tommy it would be like 30 to 45 minutes. We're now well over an hour into this.
An hour and 10 minutes, yes.
Yeah, I know.
My clock is stuck at 28 minutes and 34 seconds.
Perfect. Oh boy.
Hopefully it works.
Tommy, don't joke around about that because the last episode, someone's clock did stop and we had to re-record the episode. Well, we can still see your voice, so hopefully that's good.
All right, good. All right.
Otherwise, we'll have to do this again.
Otherwise, I hope you're free tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So, Tony, do you want to take it away?
Oh yeah, that's my cue to. Yeah, sorry, Brandon. I gotta say, I think I need to talk less and just let you roll with it. It was so nice to just drink beer and just chime in with dumb jokes and laughs. Tommy, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Your beers are delicious, and we wish nothing but the best for you. And we're going to go ahead and put all the links of where people can find it. Go ahead and find Brickstone beers, you guys, especially if you're in Illinois, because that's only where they're at right now. So go and find it there. Brandon, I love you, man.
Love you too, Tony.
Clark.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tommy. And Clark, you know what? I'm just gonna let Tommy. And that was the only thing. That was a chance you had to say something. Tommy said, "Thank you, guys." Clark, you get to say nothing.
Okay.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you. This has been The Malting Hour. Be sure to follow us on all social media by searching The Malting Hour and at themaltinghour.com. You can also follow us on social media platforms individually. Brandon can be found on Instagram as BMDub81, on Twitter, BDub81, on Untapped, BDub Drinks Beer. Tony can be found on Instagram and Untapped under Asa Phelps Chicago. On Twitter, The Asa Phelps Chicago. Clark can be found as Clarkowski on all three. Be sure to subscribe, like, and rate the show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Until next time, cheers from all of us at The Malting Hour.